I don't care what the weather does, it's still awesome out here. Come on. It's just weather. Let's go. Yee-hee. So, yeah, in a couple of weeks I'm going to go on a big ski crossing of a high plateau, a glacial plateau called Hardangervidda in Norway. And so I'm using the inclement weather that we have today, and it is fairly inclement, to test out my poor weather gear for that situation, because obviously if we're a long way from home, it's kind of nice to know that that works. And actually, surprisingly, what is poor weather for us skiers isn't really necessarily the cold. In fact, it's the warm. When it starts to get, the snow starts to get sticky, it starts to get really wet. If you're a little unlucky, it can be windy pretty much. These are the things that are actually dangerous and very inconvenient for us. What's worse for us in the way of bad weather is actually rain. You get wet, things start getting soaked, and then when the evening comes and the night, the temperature falls or maybe starts getting windy, then we get into some real trouble. So what I've been testing today is a combination of my trusty Hardangervidda here, so I've got merino on underneath and the Hardangervidda, and then this is just a British military moisture vapor permeable rain suit. It's a jacket and pants. It's very, very light. Now, in the very cold, you want to avoid Gore-Tex and moisture vapor permeable fabrics like the plague. And the reason for that is that you will sweat, and then your moisture will come onto the membrane here. And if your insulation layers are in order, then it will freeze in here. And of course, everything with moisture vapor release just goes out the window. But in this kind of weather where it's wet, and where you're working hard and you're sweating, but you're still going to get wet from the rain as well, then this stuff comes into its own. And I always have a setup for this stuff in the bottom of my backpack. Some neat things you can do to make your Gore-Tex or moisture vapor permeable gear a lot more comfortable to wear. I tend to take the hood of the Hardangervidda here and I roll it up and stick it here in the back of my neck, because that's the place where cold forms and drips form. The snow will pile up on your backpack back here, and just rolling the hood up and stuffing it up here behind your neck is just wonderful. Same thing with this baseball hat. I like to wear this to keep the hood off my face and to give me less of a feeling of being trapped inside the hood. Much better for my peripheral vision and situational awareness, and for my hearing also, and it also helps you to vent much better. The main problem in this kind of weather is actually the management of your, as usual, the management of your body temperature. Here it's about not overheating. So you want to vent, but you want to keep the rain out. So you need to create a sort of a chimney effect. You need to make lots of space around your head. I'm not wearing any warm headgear under this hood, though I have plenty of warm headgear in the back. So things very important in this kind of weather: you must have a dry undershirt. You must have additional dry insulation. You must have at least 2 pairs of gloves, and they need to be, these ones are soaking, okay? These are buffalo mitts. They're absolutely soaking wet, but they are warm when they are wet, and they dry very, very quickly. So it's so important, because what happens is that the temperature then will suddenly drop, and then you're wet, everything is wet, and that's when you get in trouble. Okay, so as you can see, I'm struggling here to get my skis. To move through the snow. It's very sticky, and it wants to clump underneath the bases of my skis. Let me just show you what that looks like. This can actually be a real problem in this kind of weather, because that obviously is not conducive to speed. Luckily, there is a really good solution for that, and it's called butter. And I'm going to show you that next. So when you are on your adventure Nordic trip or on your Nordic backcountry trip, you need to obviously manage your effort and manage your fatigue, and just figure out how far you can go. And when your skis are lopped up like this, hang on, you're obviously not going to be going very far and very fast at all. Luckily, actually, there's this amazing wax that I found. This is called butter. It's by Dominator Waxes, and it just is the most incredible stuff I've ever experienced for really deglopping skis in warm weather. And it's actually a pretty serious thing. Imagine you're 20 kilometers from home and your skis are just in the snow. I mean, it's quite likely to be a serious annoyance. It's certainly very fatiguing. And in a bad scene, it could even become life-threatening because you simply can't make the speed that you want to make. So, butter, in your wax kit, you should anyway always have a ski maintenance kit. So some wire, a multi-tool, some wire, some voile straps, your wax, some binder cable, stuff like this, so that you can, some duct tape of course, plastic bags for your feet. If your boots get a big dunking in the water, or if you run into some overflow, your dry socks are not going to help you. If your wet boots then immediately make your socks wet as well. So you want to take some big, relatively heavy, sort of kitchen pail sized garbage bags that you can slide your feet into, so that you can keep your feet nice and dry if your boots are wet. So, but let's go to the butter here. So the butter, you can use the lid here, the box, just to scrape all this rubbish off, right? And then you just take this out of its little tin. It's a little bar like this, and you just scrape it on. Really simple, especially here on the scales, just like that. Nothing fancy. Alright, that's all. Stick it back in the tin and you're good. Do the other ski and you're good to go. Okay, always with you. So just while I'm putting my the wax and stuff away, other things that are in my backpack, I've actually got a hydration pouch here. In the winter, your liquids will want to freeze inside this tube, so when you're done drinking, you just blow into the mouthpiece, forcing the liquid back into the bag where it's actually relatively close to your body and will be kept from freezing. Other things that are in here, you know, the usual thing. Other things that are in here, a little dry bag with my spare battery, a plastic bag with my spare gloves, another hat, and some additional merino buffs. I've got sunglasses here, and you might think, what do you need sunglasses for in this bad weather? Well, they also tend to keep the snow off your face when it's a big heavy wind. And in there also we have the Staying Alive Cold Kit, or Sacket. I think I've talked to you guys about this before. This is essential. This is essentially it's two Mylar space blankets. One of them's got a slit cut in it that my head fits through, so I can wear it like a poncho, and then I can sit down on my backpack and light these candles underneath there, and I will be toasty warm for as long as the candles last, which is about 4 hours each. This is really, it weighs nothing, and it is really, I would say, essential for any kind of backcountry travel. So that's about it. I'm gonna head back, and I've really enjoyed my training today, and the weather, even though it's not been so nice, has let me test all this gear out. So happy with that. See you later. It's kind of an important thing for us when we're doing these longer treks. It's really about economy of movement. You need to find a way of moving through this terrain for many hours that's just really efficient and smooth. And one of the things I like to do is actually to use a kind of micro pause in a similar way as road cyclists do this, these high endurance cyclists. So in the next section I'll show you some footage of me doing that, but it's basically I'm taking my stride and I'm pausing at the end of my stride just to let the skis run, because it gives your body a brief break, it lets your skis run, it prevents the snow from building up on the bottom of your skis, and you can get into a really nice rhythm with it. And in this way you can actually do a lot more miles for a lot less effort than you might think. So the idea really is just to let the skis run for a moment, give your body a micro break at the end of every step. And this way you can eat up the miles and have a marvelous time. So there you have it. Dressing well for all kinds of weather circumstances and also changes between the weather. In my pack at Hardangervidda I'll also have a down jacket that I can put over my Hardangervidda here, which forms the basis of my gear. Spares of things that dry quickly and that are warm when they are wet. Repair kit, wax, eating and drinking, you know, plenty of hydration. It's no different. Just because the weather is miserable and you don't want to stop is not a reason not to hydrate and not to eat. And just being as efficient as possible, and then going out and having an awesome time. Looking after your minor little tips to make yourself a lot more comfortable. So the baseball hat, the roll in the back of the neck here, and you know, the Gore-Tex trousers. Even if the weather really isn't that nice, just put them on. You'll find that they keep you nice and warm. Obviously get them so that you can fit them over your boots. Get the butter wax on the skis, you know. Don't be skiing with sticky snow on your skis. That just sucks. You know, there are ways of dealing with it, and then you can have an awesome time even when the weather is not that great. So you'll see a few more of me, a few more clips of me getting ready for Hardangervidda. I'm really stoked. I'm going with Mike Parsons, Dave Moat, and a couple more guys who I'm trying to inveigle into it. So Seppi, you know, Toby, all these guys, I want you to come on this trip. See you later.